In section 1.1, we're going to talk about patterns and expressions. The goal of this section is going to be to look at different sequences of shapes or figures or numbers, and then to be able to identify a pattern between them, and then finally describe that pattern either verbally or using an algebraic expression. So the first thing that you want to ask yourself here is, how can you identify a pattern? What you're going to want to do is look at that sequence of shapes or numbers, and you're going to want to try to look for the same type of change that's happening between consecutive figures. So moving along into the first problem, we're going to look at the figures from left to right. We're going to ask ourselves, what is the pattern and what would the next figure in this pattern look like? So starting from the left, I see I have a triangle, a square, then a pentagon, and then finally a hexagon. So I want to ask myself, what's the main difference between all of these shapes? A triangle, I know, has 3 sides, square's got 4, pentagon has 5, and a hexagon has 6. So I can see here that the pattern is that every time that I'm moving to the right, I'm getting a new polygon with one more side length. So to describe that, I would just say that the pattern shows regular polygons with the number of sides increasing by 1. So the next figure, I was left with a hexagon that has 6 sides. So the next figure in this pattern has to have 7 sides. So it looks something kind of like that. And that is a heptagon. Moving on to the next problem, we're going to express a pattern with algebra. So we're going to look at this pattern to the right here to answer each question. Part A is asking how many toothpicks would be in the 20th figure. Now to the right, I only see the first 3 figures, but once I identify a pattern, I'm going to be able to make an assumption about the 20th figure. So how I'm going to do that is I'm going to look at a table and use that to look for a pattern that relates the figure number to the number of toothpicks in each figure. So to start, I see that the first figure has 4 toothpicks. So in other words, I would say that has 4 times 1, or 4 toothpicks. My second figure has 4 times 2, or 8 toothpicks. My third figure has 4 times 3, or 12 toothpicks. So now, after only looking at 3 figures, I can determine that the pattern here is that I take the figure number and I multiply it by 4. So for the 20th figure, I'm going to do 4 times 20, and I'm going to be left with knowing that the 20th figure would have 80 toothpicks. So last but not least, part B is asking, what expression describes the number of toothpicks in the nth figure? So before we were giving an actual number, now they just want to know n is the variable that's going to describe the figure here, the nth figure. I saw, looking at part A, figure 1, I did 4 times 1 to give me 4 toothpicks. Figure 2 was 4 times 2. Figure 20 was 4 times 20. Figure n would just be 4 times n. So that would be the algebraic expression that I would use to describe the number of toothpicks in the nth figure.